Good evening, everybody. Welcome to PSGL for the season finale in the F1 tier. Wilson Hughes or Duncan Hofland, one of them two, will be the season 28 champion. Will it be delight for the Dutchman, or will Wilson make it two in a row? My name is Luke Etheridge, joining us tonight for his final commentary on PlayStation 4 after a night off. Glad to say his voice is all nice and feeling better. It is Dan Field. Dan, how are you doing?
I'm doing brilliant as always. I took the week off last time out because, I did speak to Luke before that race and he heard my voice. He can vouch for me. It was absolutely terrible. And I was able to watch stream. It was brilliant to see that the championship fight has come down to the final race in Brazil. And, with only just a couple of points between the pair of them, could go right down to the wire, to the very end of it all. So I'm really excited to see how these guys get on in this race and how they fare in the championship hunt.
Yeah, most certainly. If you weren't with us, like Dan for last week, you can see then the winner was VSR Duncan, continuing his championship fight. Good comeback after a not ideal result at the Japanese Grand Prix, it's fair to say the least. However, Wilson Hughes is still in there, still leading the championship. He got third place last night. Midnight was the other driver on the podium. And if we have a look at the head-to-head record between the two of them, apart from qualifying, which is very heavily in Wilson's favour, 7-2, it's been fairly close between them all season, and they have been by far the most consistent drivers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you have a look at those stats, they're almost level on the amount of races that they've had. Wilson's got 5 positions over Duncan, and then Duncan's beaten in 4 races as well. Then 3-2 wins, and they're pretty much level on the podiums. It's only that's 7 points. Oh no, it's not. It's 5 points between the pair of them. And my maths coming in clutch as always, but it's very close between the pair of them. And if Duncan wins, I do believe that could be the championship for him. No matter what.
I think if Duncan wins, Wilson needs to finish in second position. So he needs to be right behind Duncan, and that would be good enough to take him the title. Also, if Duncan finishes outside of the top 6 in this race with the fastest lap, or outside of the top 5 without the fastest lap, no matter where Wilson finishes, he will make it 2 championships in a row. There is still some championship battles further down the field as well. You can see there, Used, Benjamin, Blizzard, Midnight Gamer, and Samuel Bean can all finish in third position in the championship, all still with a mathematical chance. And it's not just the Drivers' Championship, we've also got a Constructors' fight as well. Alfa Romeo leading at the moment by just 6 points from McLaren. We might see the teammates come into this because Hughes was up towards the front last week until he started having issues, and Gamer's back on form, so they'll both be hoping that they can help their teammate in any way possible in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Before last week, Hughes was on the podium pretty much consistently. He scored 2 in a row in Canada and Japan, of course. Didn't finish last time out in Baku, and then Gamer, he's finally found some of that form that he had at the beginning of the season. 2 consecutive races that he's seen the points after a slump of 4 races, all finishing outside the top 10. So those guys, they're really going to have to be crucial in just keeping their races clean to actually secure those constructors points, because we know that Wilson and Duncan, they are both going to be fighting as hard as they can because they got to risk everything to win everything.
Yeah, definitely. They've just got to go for it, especially Duncan being further back in the championship. If he's lower down the field, he has just got to sort of gun it, as one hell of a motorbike has just chosen this exact moment to fire up outside. Apologies if anyone heard that. Hopefully we'll be hearing some on-track noise very shortly. You can there's the F2 Championship battle as well. That is going on tonight with 7 different drivers in it at the start of the night. I think we're down to 3. Thankfully, the maths we've got to do is a lot less complicated than that. It might still be a complicated race though, because it is Brazil, it is the rainforest. There's always that chance of that little sprinkling of rain. Just ask Lewis Hamilton how difficult it can be to clinch a championship at this circuit.
And of course, you have to ask our season 26 champion Gil how difficult it was for him. He was put into a championship winning position last time out. We came here in season 26 when Vasta Racer had his wheel issues and spun under the safety car. It wasn't his fault at all. But Gil, that put him into a championship winning position, and Matthijs really going through the heartbreak there. He is racing with us again, by the way. He is filling in for, I believe, Christmas, who's not, but actually no, he's not. He's filling in for Jordan because his wheel's completely screwed over. He's in the Haas tonight.
Yeah, so Matthijs making what could well be his final appearance on this platform. The man, like you said, who missed out, ironically, with one of his best friends costing him the championship by having some wheel issues, and then tonight he's actually making his return because of some wheel issues. So let's get out onto circuit then for this qualifying session, and the first thing we can know, it is beautiful bright sunshine, and that will make everyone very happy indeed.
Yeah, it seems like there's actually a bit of just a slight haze up above. I don't know, it doesn't seem like the perfect blue skies that we're normally seeing in qualifying. We haven't had too many wet qualifying sessions, but I do believe a couple of drivers are pulling out on circuit, and how fitting is that? The two Alfa Romeo cars, Duncan being the first, and I think he's just trying to manifest something by coming out first on the formation lap, on his out lap, possibly. Could be first on the grid, you never know. Maybe it's just some superstition that he's got there.
Yeah, we have actually got quite a few drivers seem to be heading out early on indeed, but it is Duncan leading the queue, Use behind him, no slipstreaming allowed, of course, here in PSGL. They will get a penalty for that. Not that you'd see too much around here, maybe on that run down towards the first straight. It is quite a difficult track as well to get the setup right. Sector 1 and Sector 3, it is all about top speed, and you can just see this middle sector very slow, very twisty. If you're on old tyres, you will lose a lot of time in that middle part of the circuit.
Yeah, it's really difficult, especially in some corners where you're locking the brakes. Quite often you're putting a lot of load through the tyres, so you really do need to be diligent with how you're taking that second sector, because it can be a killer if you're not careful enough. But now Duncan, he's about to begin his lap, his final banker lap of F1 2020 in PSGL. He's going to be getting us off and towards turn number 1.
Yeah, he's heading now downhill towards the centre S, 205 miles per hour, just under 330 kilometres an hour as you turn into the centre S. Make sure you get a good exit through the Curva de Sol, turn 3. That's where the second DRS zone will start on the back straight, on the Retta Aposta, and then you head downhill into the Cida de Largo, a tricky double left-hander, turn 5 and 6. Duncan just staying away from the curb quite a bit for now, suggesting he is leaving something in hand for later on, doesn't want to invalidate. Now through Ferraggiova, this double apex right-hander before you come into turn number 8, and it's all this sequence of corners that you've got to make sure you get right and not go too deep into any of them. Looks like he's kept it nice and tidy through Pinarino into the Bico de Pato now, keeping it very tight towards the apex there, I must say. A bit of a squibbly exit there despite short shifting through Magulio into Yongsao, probably the most crucial corner on the circuit when it comes to a qualifying lap, because it is now flat out all the way up the hill past the grandstands on the right hand side. They won't have any Brazilians to cheer on, unfortunately. What sort of time is it going to be for Duncan at the start of the session? 106.311 for the man currently second in the championship. Let's see what Wilson Hughes is doing further down the order as well. 16.3 and 33.6 in the first sector. There's not going to be much between Duncan and Wilson as they finish their first laps.
Absolutely, Wilson just coming up to the line here, and it is going to be the fastest time for the Scotsman. That is really what he needs, especially since he's almost about 2/10 ahead of his main rival in this one, so that is going to be crucial for him to really assert that dominance early on. A couple more drivers though finishing up on their runs, Matthijs being one of them. Purple through the first sector, green through sector 2 as well, and I think he had a bit of a poor final sector there for Matthijs. 106.4, not sometimes that you'd really be used to seeing him putting in, but as well as Blizzard just coming through the final sector at the moment. He's got Samuel Wien and Mish right in front of him as well, but to cross the line the Racing Point car comes, and it is P2 for him. Only he's a fraction off of Wilson Hughes. I'm frantically just trying to change the settings. There we go, half a tenth off of Wilson at the moment, but no one has been able to touch McLaren after his banker lap.
No, Wilson then on pole position for now. Blizzard in second, did get his first pole of the season last time out, but things didn't really go to plan for him. Best qualifiers so far this season have been Wilson and Hughes, and Hughes looking pretty high up the order as well on this occasion. Benjamin has invalidated on his lap, so we'll see what Casper can do as those cars just get out of the way. Quite a short circuit, one of the shortest permanent tracks in Formula 1, so traffic management can be an issue on occasion, but I think these drivers might be quite happy that they've only got 17 of them at the moment, so shouldn't be as much of a problem. We'll see what the Mercedes driver can do round these final couple of corners. Last time we raced here was season 26. Of course, it was Matthias who took the victory. Blizzard finished in second on that occasion, so he has got some history of doing well around this circuit. And in terms of the championship contenders for tonight, Wilson was 7th, Duncan was 9th, but they are two very different drivers. in the last 2 seasons. Casper heads towards the line. He stays 14th place, slowest out of everyone that has set a lap time. Advantage Wilson then, early on. Duncan in 4th place. Given how he's qualified on occasions this season, I don't think he'd be too bothered about that.
Yeah, absolutely. But the track looking a little bit of a deserted ghost town at the moment. Only a couple drivers out on circuit. Casper's on his cooldown lap. Ash Best on an out lap. But Benjamin has just begun on a run. He's done a 16.4 through the first sector. That's about just over a tenth slower than Gamer, who has the fastest first sector. He's going to pick up a bit of a tow from Casper, and it's not really going to do much harm to him through Ferradura now. And it is a pretty decent lap so far from Benjamin. Smart to tuck in behind Casper, of course, unintentional. So I don't think Casper's actually going to be getting a penalty for that one. It definitely did not look the plan. I think he was just trying to get out of his way. But now through the second sector, through this long left-hander in towards Junsao. What's it going to be for Benjamin? A 33.6 through a second sector as more cars come out on their outlet. But through now this flat-out final sector, opening up is DRS just as he goes under the Emirates signing. Through now to cross the line. Benjamin, he's got a clear track in front of him. What's it going to be? It's going to be 8th fastest for him. Only about 5 thousandths quicker than Gamer, and just about 1/100th of a second slower than Young Power. So in that train, sort of stemming down from about 4th position all the way down to 11th. That's about, what, 800th of a second maybe, splitting all of those drivers?
Yeah, it's extremely close. We've got, what, how many drivers is it? 8 at the moment on a 106.3. Extremely close between all of them. Let's see what Ash Best can do. Can he make it a 9th driver in the 106.3s? No, just behind, 106.440. We are still actually down on what the fastest time was in F2, 106.043. So looking at these early laps, don't be too surprised if we do see the odd driver popping in perhaps a 105 at some point, and that would really set yourself in good stead. VSR Use then 12 thousandths down on his first lap. Used 4 podiums so far this season, no victories. I imagine if he's not in a position to help his teammate tonight, he'll be wanting to go for that victory just to finish off the season on a high. It's not been a bad season for last year's one-up, but I think he would have wanted to be closer to the top of the standings.
Yeah, absolutely. He's quite a long ways off at this point. He's currently 31 points off the back of Wilson Hughes, and he was contending till about Japan when he was eliminated. It's still hard to believe that he is actually just eliminated from the running order. He's slower through Sector 2 as well, so he's not looking too strong on this lap. Is Hughes. I don't think he'll be improving on this run, so we'll see if he does complete this lap, or maybe potentially go for another one, or at least a cool-down lap to cross the line. He does improve ever so slightly, but not enough to top any of the drivers in front of him. Blizzard is invalid on his lap, but Wilson Hughes through the second sector split, he is improving by about 1/10. This could be the first time into the 1:05s if we see him find a slight improvement. He needs about 3 thousandths of a second to actually get into that 105 margin to cross the line. Wilson Hughes, and oh, it is so close. He was actually pretty much the same as his final sector on the previous lap. He did not gain any time through there.
Yeah, you're not going to get much closer than that. 106.003 does extend his lead, though, with Use only improving by a small margin. Blizzard and Duncan both invalidating. So for Duncan, he is now down into 6th place. Midnight coming into the final sector now. He is 3 tenths up on his personal best. This could well get him up towards the top of the order. He's really improved over the last few races, finally getting that first podium at Azerbaijan. Could have got a win in Canada if the rain hadn't come just at that point in the race. And Midnight comes across the line, and look at that, 106.003, identical lap time. We might have a Jerez 1997 on our hands if someone else can join them on that. 106.003 for the McLaren and the Mercedes.
Yeah, and Young Power got close as well. He's at a 1:06.02. So incredibly close stuff between the top three, 17 thousandths of a second, splitting those top 3 drivers. So insanely competitive in Brazil, which is to be expected given that it is a pretty short circuit. No one is on a push lap at the moment. Simo and Samuel Beam were the last drivers to actually be pushing, but they have unfortunately invalidated. That leaves a couple drivers on their out laps at the moment, one of them including championship contender Duncan. got a little bit of a clear track in front of him. He's got a Red Bull, that's Young Power, on his cooldown lap. He's also got a Mercedes out in front of him. That's going to be Midnight. And then a Haskar of Petrox. So Petrox will be the next one to put in a lap. Then it'll be Duncan. So I think those two, they're ones to watch. With just under 8 minutes to go in this session, they'll be looking at probably 2 more runs at this.
Yeah, certainly. We've got Benjamin on a hot lap as well. What's he doing through the first sector? 16.382. So one of the few drivers that's actually managed a 16.3 first sector. If he carries on this rate for the rest of the lap, should definitely be up and around where his teammate Blizzard is in 4th place. Both of the racing points really coming into their own in the second part of the season. Blizzard obviously with his victory in France and that pole position last time out. Benjamin with his 2 best results of the season being in his last 2 races, 2nd in Japan, 4th in Azerbaijan. He admitted himself it wasn't the greatest start to the season, his first in F1 as the reigning F2 champion, but he's 4th in the championship at the moment, could still get into that 3rd place, of course, which would be a very successful debut season. Indeed, definitely one to watch in the future, perhaps on the next game. Heads towards the line, does improve in the end, just behind his teammate on a 106.236. Duncan, he's another driver that's a 10th up in the first sector, so we'll see what he's like throughout the rest of his lap. And just looking at where he's losing time compared to Wilson, it is about a 10th down in every single sector, so it's all throughout the lap. Duncan needs to find time.
Yeah, well, he is finding time on this run. He's about 1.5 tenths just above that, up on his previous time. Petrox has just made it a 2nd row lockout for the VRT, but here comes Duncan up towards the line. Has he found an improvement through this final sector? Is it going to be enough to potentially topple? And he actually does get ahead of a couple of drivers, jumping Petrox, immediately taking away that 2nd row lockout, and then Mish immediately beats him as well. So that is another driver in the 106.0s, the Ferrari car. He's been a bit unsung throughout this season. He's not really had the most impactful one, aside from Singapore, of course, where he did take the win. A couple more drivers though crossing the line, as is Blizzard, purple through sector 2, and purple overall. He's the first driver into the 1 minute 05. It's a 1 minute 05.968 for the Racing Point car.
Yeah, not a bad lap whatsoever there from Blizzard, as we said, really coming into the form. The man who had his 100th race in PSGL earlier on in the season, showing that there's still life in the old dog yet. Used is more than a 1/4 of a second up through the first 2 sectors. He could become the 2nd man to get into the 1 minute 05s here on a sub 66 second lap. Yellow flags just for cars getting out of the way. DRS open for the Alfa Romeo and his 4th position in the end, 106.010. Things looking incredibly close at the moment. Who else have we got heading towards the end of the lap? Matthias has invalidated, as has Gamer Suso, who failed to score for the first time in a race that he took part in the last time out, retiring from Azerbaijan. We'll see what he can do towards the finish line. Suso heading towards the line now, nearly running out of VRS as he comes across the line. It is only a small improvement for 12th position. Wilson Hughes, though, he's on another lap and he's going up again, 700ths up through the first 2 sectors. Is this going to take pole position away from Blizzard? Yes, it is. 105.923 for Wilson Hughes. Provisional pole position. Still 5 minutes to go. It's such a short track that we are probably going to see everyone else manage to get a 4th lap in, and Wilson included in that, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. All that was made up in the final sector for Wilson Hughes. He didn't even improve on his first sector, so there is more time for the young Scotsman. It is looking good at the moment, especially since his championship rival Duncan, he's not been able to do better than 7th, and he can't even break into the 1 minute 6.0, so he's kind of struggling in this session. It is sort of sad to see, and I really do hope that Duncan can at least get a bit further up the order so we can see a proper championship bout between the 2 drivers. Gamer was improving on a lap, but he has just pulled off into the pit lane, but that doesn't mean there aren't drivers on that aren't on push laps. A couple of runners on laps at the moment. Matthijs is down on his previous best time through a 2nd sector, but he does improve in the end. A 106.1, 1.5 tenths improvement, so really strong from him. As Simo as well crossing the line. These guys, they still can get into the pit lane for another lap, but it is going to be very touch and go. As I think Young Power, this surely got to be one of his final runs. He just started on a lap.
Yeah, we'll see whether Young Power is going to go for a hot lap here, and judging by the first sector, 16.318, he is definitely pushing at the moment. Those yellow flags all just for drivers coming back to the pit lane. 3 minutes 20 remaining, 200 seconds to go in the final qualifying session of PSGL on the PS4 on F1 2020, and it is Wilson, Blizzard, Midnight, Used, Young Power, your top 5 other championship contender, VSR Duncan, only starting from the 4th row at the moment as Young Power's had a massive slide coming out of Pinavino there. We'll see if that's cost him any time as he heads downhill through Mergulio into Young Sao. He is still up actually, 600ths of a second, and with how close things are at the moment, this could get him onto the front row of the grid. It did seem like a very tidy run through Young Sao. DRS opening then on the back of the Red Bull for the Italian. And he does all that just to come into the pits.
I think that was smart of him because the track will continue to evolve. Drivers are beginning their final outlaps to really push for the last time. The yellow flags in Sector 3, those are for Simo, who's actually run out of fuel on his lap. So if he can't get back to the pit lane, it's going to be really difficult for him to actually put in a lap. But I do believe the first driver that is really going to be making one, maybe 2 final runs, Midnight, he'll be the first one to cross the line to begin his lap on the run up towards the first couple of corners. Of course, the Senna S's, named after the infamous 3-time world champion Ayrton Senna. How's he taking those? A lock up, but he's shifting up through the gears, short shifting into 6th through the Curva del Sol, and down now towards the Retro and up towards the Descida de Largo. Where's he going to brake? He has to brake at around about the 70 meter mark, I would say, just in between that 150 meter board. He is slightly down on his previous best lap, but up towards Ferradura. Here comes the Mercedes driver who's made a great impact on this season. Of course, he finally got his first podium last time out, 2nd position in Baku, and he's doing really well so far in this qualifying session. He's on the cusp of a 1:05, and this could be the lap if he does find an improvement through this 2nd sector. Of course, previously down on his best time in the 1st. What about to cross the sector split here? He is up, and this will at least put him almost ahead of Blizzard. Maybe not Wilson Hughes, but he can certainly get onto the front row of the order for now. Up towards the line, keeping it tight to the left-hand side. Here comes Midnight to cross the line. What's it going to be? And it is indeed a front row start for him provisionally. Just about an improvement ahead of Blizzard. But of course, Blizzard on an outlap.
Yeah, Blizzard on an outlap. There wasn't many drivers improving in Sector 1. Duncan's another one who's found time in Sector 2. Hughes has backed off on this lap and has decided to go for another one. Duncan does improve, but it is only 1 position, and he's decided that is enough. He's running short on fuel, so no higher than 7th for one of the main championship contenders. Wouters, he's improving through Sector 1. Mish backed off his lap as well. Ash Best has just gone into 14th place. That could very possibly be his final lap. Let's see what Wilson Hughes is doing then as he comes now downhill towards the Descida de Largo. There's corners at Brazil. We've got Retro which sounds so fancy. It's literally back straight. Would not definitely sound as good if we just in England started naming our circuits back straight and towards the lakes and all the different names that sound much better in Portuguese than they do in a northern accent. Wilson Hughes then, what's he doing through the 1st sector? Is he up on this occasion? He is again by 300ths of a second. He just keeps finding time.
Yeah, it's unbelievable from Wilson Hughes. He finally did at least get that 1st sector down, which he was missing on his previous best time, which still put him into the 1:05s. So he's on a flyer at the moment, and he's still improving yet again. Midnight does eventually go into 2nd. Actually, no, we already saw him. I'm tripping on something. I don't know who improved as Wilson. Has he backed off here?
He has. He had a massive slide coming through Young Sao. There was no way he was gaining any time on that lap, so he's backed off, obviously just saving a bit of tyres maybe for later in the race. Blizzard goes 3rd, Used in 4th position. Young Power, he's not improving at the moment. There's a few drivers ahead of him heading towards the finish line. Gamer is one of them. He's down in 16th at the moment. Samuel Bean can only qualify last. Mish takes pole position on the final run. 105.909 for Mish. Young Power not able to really improve as well. He stays in 6th place. I think we've only really got Simo now on a hot lap at this point in time. Is he going to improve across the line? No, he doesn't. He stays in 14th. Suso, he's just backing off back towards the pits. There wasn't a lot of drivers improving on that lap, and I'm going to be honest, I thought that meant, everyone had just pretty much given up, or we'd seen the best of the track conditions, and Mish proves what I know about that. A fantastic lap time, 105.909, fastest of everyone. And the good news for Duncan is that's now 1 less car in between himself and Wilson. So, small joy, perhaps, for Duncan. A small ray of light in what was not the best qualifying session. He'd have obviously hoped to out-qualify the McLaren.
Yeah, I still don't think he'll be happy about 7th position in a race that he could be fighting for the championship. He does have his teammate in front of him, so who could possibly at least assist him in some way, maybe hold up Young Power and let him get by and at least make up something. But he will not be happy with 7th position, whereas rival is in 2nd. That is still, what, 5 cars in between himself. I do make a mistake. It's actually 4 cars in between himself and Wilson. So it's really tough for him to actually make up the championship position. But we have seen it in the past in PSGL, drivers doing the unexpected and taking wins when they weren't really tipped to be doing so. So do not count Duncan out in this one. It's going to be 36 laps of the Brazilian Grand Prix coming very, very shortly.
Yeah, it is indeed. We'll just remind everyone of the championship situation again between these 2 drivers while everyone is getting ready. Wilson leading the championship then on 81 points. Duncan on 76 at the moment. I think with how things were in that qualifying session, probably good enough for Alfa Romeo to secure the Constructors' Championship with Hughes being in the top 10 and Gamer not able to do so. This is an ideal situation for Wilson, surely. He's got drivers in between him and his main rival. He can afford to not push. I mean, Wilson, he is the kind of guy who will push flat out to every occasion. He wants to win in style. He wants to take the victory, but he can afford to be a bit pragmatic in his approach and just think, I don't need to go for these risky moves to take the lead of the race. I can just sit back and react to what Duncan is doing behind me.
Yeah, but the showman that is Wilson Hughes, we know that he's not going to be doing that. He'll be pushing with all his might to take the maximum amount of points that he can in this Grand Prix, so he'll be pushing as hard as he can. The drivers just locking in their strategies and making some minor adjustments to their setups and resetting their fuel, all of that. They'll be getting ready for the outlap. And of course, all the drivers inside the top 10, they have to start on whatever tyre that they qualified on. But if you're outside the top 10, then you get to pick any tyre. And the first of those drivers is Suso. And we'll see what tyres they've all gone on. And it is a perfect yellow wall that we've seen all the way from 11th down into 7th. They're all on the medium compound of tyres. So you do have to watch out for them later on in the Grand Prix. Soft to medium or medium to soft. That is the ideal strategy that you would take around this circuit. And I'd say it is pretty doable for these guys.
Yeah, soft to hard is possible as well if you do want to get a dramatic undercut on everyone. We will just have to wait and see what everyone chooses to do around this Brazilian Grand Prix circuit. 4.309 kilometres, 2.677 miles, 15 corners, 2 DRS zones, plenty of undulation to challenge all the drivers. And like Dan said, top 10 on softs, bottom 7 drivers on a set of the medium tyres. So probably coming in round about what? If you're wanting to go soft to medium, you're probably going to have to come in, what, lap 14, lap 15 at the earliest, perhaps? Maybe if you want to go onto the hard tyres, then you can afford to come in a bit earlier and try to get that big undercut like we saw some drivers attempt in the PC race on Thursday.
Of course, one of those drivers was Barry Burman, fighting right until the end in the championship. He had some issues with, I believe it was, actually I won't say the names because I feel that's kind of wrong in them, but there were some issues, and it was a bit of controversy of favouring the other championship contender who went on to win, of course, Jarno, and he just let him on through, but then of course he did decide to fight with Barry. So I hope we don't see any of that. If drivers are going to let the championship rivals through, at least they could do it to both of them, instead not just favour one of them, especially if they're not a part of the same team. I really only expect that from Gamer, who's all the way down in 16th, and Use, of course, their teammates to fight for the title.
Yeah, hope you got your popcorn ready, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be an absolute cracker. Duncan in 7th place, knows he's got to fight up through the field. Wilson just finishing 2nd will be good enough no matter what happens with his championship rival. The 5 lights are coming on for the final time on F1 2020. We are underway at the Brazilian Grand Prix, and it's a short hold and a bit of a bad start from Mish. I think he was expecting them to be held a bit longer there, and Wilson's going to try and go down the inside into turn 1. In the end, has to back off. Mish just about has that covered. Everyone seems to have got through the first couple of corners cleanly. Quite a slow start for one of the Williams in the background. I believe that is Samuel Bean. So it is Mish, Wilson, Blizzard, as you were, at the front of the field. We have got a bit of a timing glitch which will sort itself out. So you can see there, in fact, Blizzard has jumped ahead of Midnight. Duncan getting ahead of Young Power as well. No one really dropping too much down the order, as we do see some moves further back as well. Gamer and Simo battling side by side through Ferrajova. This could end up going wrong, and there's all sorts of chaos at the back of the field at the moment. Someone who won't care about that, though, is the leaders. Mish still ahead thought he was going to lose that move into turn 1, but in the end, managed to hold on, and he's not had a bad opening lap. He's got that gap up to about half a second.
Yeah, it's all been clean throughout the field, aside from Samuel Bean. He's got a big amount of wing damage on that left side end plate, so he's going to need to come into the pit lane. It's been crucial for Duncan to jump Young Power in this Grand Prix as well. He's now into 6th position. He's got his teammate directly in front of him who could possibly be the spearhead in this race as they begin lap number 2. But if you can maybe make some moves that could push the other drivers back in towards Duncan, making his life just a little bit easier. So these guys, they're in a perfect position to really make the most of having a teammate around them, and they could possibly work together. But he really still can be a cork in the bottle for Duncan if he makes his intentions clear that he wants to fight with it. So we'll just have to see if Duncan could possibly get close enough to his teammate, and then maybe we'll see what they do around that area. But Mish, he is still leading pretty comfortably at the moment, 0.7 of a second between himself and Wilson Hughes. And of course, it is in the second sector where Dirty Air is pretty tough to handle. So I do kind of understand where Wilson is losing on that time. But they are about to begin lap number 3 as well. So in towards, I believe, Descida de Largo, that'll be the first time that we actually get to see the DRS in full effect, which of course will be coming next lap by.
Yeah, well, and apart from Samuel Bean and our race leader, obviously, everyone is going to have the DRS. So we've got a good old DRS train, and this might just trigger some earlier pit stops from some of those lower down the order. Mish then still in the lead, about 8 tenths ahead of Wilson, not able to break that toe at the moment, and you can see he's definitely been trying 20% of his ERS compared to high 40s for Wilson Hughes on this occasion, and there is some quite big gaps at the front, around 8 tenths of a second, so perhaps don't expect to see too many drivers going for moves. Petrox pretty close to the back of Casper, not able to do anything this time around. Gamer, though, down the inside of Simo. Gamer, of course, needs to work his way through the order on this alternate strategy if McLaren want to get that Constructors' Championship, if they want to win it for the second year in a row in terms of Wilson and Gamer, who did take it last season, of course. Now, Used is a bit behind the car in front at the moment, but if anyone could maybe afford to go for a dive bomb and just cause a bit of chaos, it could be Used, because he might be thinking here, if I go for a bit of a risky move here, it doesn't matter if Duncan ends up getting ahead both of us, because that's just 2 cars I've got out of the way of my teammates. So he might be one to watch out for, to try and, you know, maybe force his way up the order a bit more, because he's got nothing to lose, really.
Yeah, he, as I did mention before, being that spearhead where he can sort of assist his teammate by just doing the dirty work for him, then that really can help him. I'm just thinking about Wilson, though, and whether he wants to go for the move on Mish very soon, because he can see that Mish has less than 10% of the ERS. That's indicated by the blinking red light at the rear of the Ferrari car. Wilson knows that he is going to be weaker on the straightaways and with DRS, and you can just see that down the Retro-Aposta, he gained about 2 or 3 tenths of a second. He's now about 4.5 tenths back from the Ferrari car, so in the next couple of laps he'll be pushing and potentially could be going for a move for the lead, which could see him controlling the dictating the pace of the race, and that will really be beneficial to him. As much as this is a game of just battling your rivals, it is also a game of mind tricks and strategy as well. So we'll see what Wilson does, and he'll make his intention clear as to whether he wants to go for the move. As Petrox, his Wi-Fi issues continue to plague him as he's left the session, but Wilson Hughes, he's now about 5 tenths of a second back from Mish, who has 0% of ERS. He is fighting with his life to defend this position, and in towards turn number 1, he's not close enough to get the move this time by.
No, we'll see if the dirty air affects Wilson as well, coming through the centre S. Petrox just dropping down the order. Unfortunate for him, doesn't look like he'll score his first points of the season. And Wilson, you can see he's not using any ERS, so it's not like he wants to go for it at the moment. He knows turn 1 is a much safer overtaking opportunity than Descida de Largo. We've seen lots of drivers over the years get bumped off, get warnings, perhaps possibly get spun round as well, which is the last thing he wants. But if he feels like he can go faster, I mean, we're not going to have to worry about it for the next few laps, but let's say in about 5 or 6 laps time, Duncan dives into the pits. It's very possible that the Alfa Romeo could pull off the undercut all of a sudden on the hard tyres, and then that will put Wilson into a bit of a trickier situation.
Yeah, absolutely. As Petrox has managed to get back into the session, that's kind of screwed up all of the deltas. But Wilson Hughes is closing up to the back of Mish here. Now he's a lot closer than he was on the previous lap. And you did say it is safer to go for the move in towards turn number 1, and that is duly because it's a heavier braking zone, so you can really commit to the move. But Mish defending this with all his might, and he's using up all the last of his ERS that he saved up on the lap, and he's just blitzing it down the straightaway. Wilson not really committing too much. I think he does just want to hang back, not really risk anything, because he's saving up his ERS. He's gained about, what, 20% just over these last 2 laps by not attacking Mish, who has really been committing to defending this position. And it's all really in vain because Wilson Hughes, he's closed by about a tenth without even using up any of his resources. So it might be smart for Mish to just kind of save what he's got, because Wilson is clearly the faster driver in this Grand Prix. So he's got to really think smartly about that one. But he is still leading this Grand Prix, so all's fair towards him. And I'd just like to mention Misha's teammate has actually got wing damage 6%, so it's not going to be too affecting of his performance. But it's just going to be that little bit that'll annoy him throughout the Grand Prix, I'd say.
Yeah, we did see him get passed by Gamer earlier on, and I'm wondering if that's why Gamer has been able to make a move after lap 1 of the race, where everyone else just seems to be stuck in this DRS train at this moment in time. It has split up ever so slightly with Petrux's disconnection that has put a split between the top 9 on the softs and those that are now on the medium tyres. But at the front of the field, you can see there from the deltas, there's not really too many gaps below half a second as they head into the braking zone. In fact, I think every single one towards the front is over half a second. One that isn't, though, is Benjamin down the inside of Suso into the centre S. Gets that move done fairly cleanly. Might have to use a bit of ERS to help him defend and keep the position, but it doesn't look like the Williams is close enough. That's Benjamin into the points. Lead driver now on that alternate strategy, having started in 12th position.
Yeah, I think I've got a little bit of a glitch with Suso going on, because it said that he didn't even activate DRS. I don't know how much overtake he's got as well, but it's showing up as 90% on my screen. So I wonder if that's a kind of a similar glitch to what we saw with I think it was Blizzard in Japan, when it appeared on your screen as him having a lot more ERS than actually had. So I wonder if that's kind of going on, but he is lost the position, and Benjamin's going to be trying to stretch a gap to him as well as close up to Casper, who's losing a bit of time to the top drivers at the moment. He's 9/10 of a second off of Matai, so he's almost losing DRS completely here. And that will be really bad for his race if he can't keep within that 1 second window that you need to get the assistant. So it'll be a bit touch and go as to whether he can actually stay competitive in this Grand Prix, but he is still just remaining within that distance, and I still think he does have DRS. He actually doesn't have a helping of the DRS down this straightaway here, so he'll be struggling if he can't get back within it.
Yeah, it will be indeed. He'll be just obviously sitting back at the moment, and that might give a chance for Benjamin and some of those a bit further down to the field to start catching up Wilson, as he has been since the start of this race, despite looking like he might have been able to go for things into turn 1. He's still in second place, no warnings at this moment in time. Duncan has got 1 warning, so nothing to worry about just yet. Later on in the race, when they start needing to push a bit harder, that could make things very tricky for Duncan. There's not really too many places you can pick up warnings around this circuit. It's if you cut the pit lane too much, it's possible, and also coming through turn 4 and 5, everywhere else has grass on the edge, and you definitely want to be avoiding that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do like about this circuit, is that it doesn't give you a huge amount of runoff. There is still grass at some points. That's kind of what I love about most of the older circuits as well, is that they're a bit more unforgiving with the track limits, and it does encourage drivers to actually stay within the limits. You could completely ride the curb through Curva del Sol, but there's grass on the inside line, and you really don't want to be kind of risking dipping a wheel into that and then losing control, or just scrubbing a bit of grip on your tires. So it is it's something I do really enjoy about this circuit.
Yeah, I love that old-fashioned feel. Suzuka, another one as well, of course, with the gravel straps on the edge and the grass. And as Duncan found out, if you just get it slightly wrong, a mistake at some circuits, that would mean maybe a spin round, no damage, you head up towards the gravel, and it is a lot more difficult to get out of that, of course. Me still just winning at this moment in time. Looks as though he's still fairly low on his ERS. Look at Wilson User, 95%, 100% as he heads into the braking zone. He's really taking the just stay behind and not take too many risks to the absolute extreme at the moment. You feel like if he wanted to get close on a lap, he could just go through all his ERS and have a proper go at challenging Mish. But as long as he's not being challenged from behind, he's quite happy just to sit in second.
Yeah, absolutely, and he does have Blizzard keeping him company. I'd just like to mention we've actually received a super chat from Carter Lundy there, $2 Thank you very much for your very charitable donation. It does go a long way, and it's nice to have those supporters. I won't read out what he said because it's a bit immature, but yeah, big thank you to you. Thank you very much.
League racing, being immature, I'm absolutely shocked, Daniel. I believe these are all fine, outstanding members of the community here, all 120 people that we've currently got in the chat. Welcome along to you all. We're on about lap 10 of this race, and maybe Carter's message was a bit of his own comment about how the race is going on at the moment. Not too much is happening, as we've seen in the first third of many races this season. Everyone's just quite happy to sit in the train. Everyone waiting for someone else to go for that first move into the pits. Will it be Duncan? He's in 6th place at the moment. He knows he's got to do something to try and get his way up the order, just stuck in this DRS train. As things stand at the moment, it would be Drivers' Championship, 2 in a row for Wilson Hughes, and it would be Alfa Romeo taking the Constructors' Championship. No one really going for moves on this occasion. Everyone's still just happy. Lap 11 of the race now. I don't think we're going to be too far away from someone going for it and just putting on a set of hard tyres and seeing what they can do, especially if you're Matthias and Casper, because you're a long way down the back of the order, 8th and 9th at the moment. You've not really been able to get close enough to go for an overtake. You've got to try something different, surely.
Yeah, absolutely, as Wilson Hughes has a huge moment out of turn number 4 there. That was a heart-in-mouth part for him there, as he did manage to save it in the end, and that is not going to do his tyres any justice. But I'm wondering if the first driver to actually make a pit stop will be Mish, because for some reason his tyres are in a lot worse condition than everyone else. His right rear is on 60%, and Wilson behind him is on 53%, so that's 7% different. And both of these guys have done the same amount of laps in this Grand Prix on that set, and I'd imagine in qualifying as well. But he is really degrading these soft tyres. Maybe it's just due to the amount of pushing that he's doing, and he's still using up all the ERS that he absolutely possibly can. But he'll burn through those set of soft tyres very quickly, and I don't know if he's actually going to have enough in that set of the Red Bull tyre to actually get to a stage where he can pit for the mediums. So I think he might decide to go onto the hards at some point, and this is leaving him vulnerable to Wilson Hughes, the first of the soft runners coming to the pits, and it's Petrox. He's way off at the moment, down in 16th position, but Wilson Hughes closing, probably closer than ever, I would say, to the back of me. So I think he wants to go for the move soon.
Yeah, I think there are 2 reasons why Misha's tyres might be struggling. I do seem to remember he set his fastest time on his 2nd lap in qualifying, and also he's on the pad as well, and you can't put them fine little inputs in. You do tend to burn up your tyres slightly more on the pad, although Lewis Walsh did do a very good job at Brazil around here, and to be fair, Misha's still doing a very good job at the moment, but I can't imagine he's too far away from coming into the pits then. On to nearly at the end of lap 12, a third of the way through this championship finale. Mish, Wilson, Blizzard, Midnight, Used, Duncan, Young Power, Matthias, Casper, Benjamin, your top 10 at the moment. Don't think anyone's going for it at the moment, for the pits that is, but someone who is going for the move is Wilson Hughes down the inside into turn 1. That's what we said was going to happen. As soon as he decided he was going to go for the move, he's got it done, and Blizzard able to go through as well. Mish on those old tyres just completely outbraking himself, and he's lost 3 positions there. Just manages to stay ahead of Houston Duncan though.
Yeah, and he inserted himself right in front of Midnight there, and it made a huge gap appear between the top 2 and the rest of the train, and now Blizzard is closing up to the back of Wilson. These 2 former CRG teammates, of course, Wilson being going by CRG Sparks. So I wonder if he's going to possibly act as a bit of a rear gunner to him and defend, or if he's going to attack and just try and take the glory for himself. Of course, took 2nd position last time we came here in Brazil in season 26, and he could be taking the win today in 2nd position. Mish doesn't seem like he's been attacked by Use or Duncan, but if he's struggling for pace, then that might allow for the top 3 runners to escape from the rest of the train, and I don't think Use is going to be too thankful of that one there, because he's right onto the back of Mish in towards the first corner, further back than Wilson Hughes was, but he does not care. He's going to go down the inside in towards turn number 1. It's not been the cleanest move so far. Going to try and get him on the cutback around the outside of Curvedel. So has he made this one stick now with the DRS? They're going to be wheel to wheel down the straightaway. Mish backs off. But what a move it was there. And meanwhile, Duncan being the first driver, he's going to be trying something different. He's gone into a set of the hard compounder tyres here.
Yeah, he said it might be worth him trying something different at the back of the field on that set of hards in plenty of free air. And is that just the first one that the flock will now follow into the pits onto lap 14 of this race? Duncan is out, choosing to go for a set of hards, would have struggled to get the mediums down, of course, from that point in the race. And I wonder, will Wilson and Blizzard and maybe some of the others choose to go for it on this lap, or carry on a bit longer and make sure they've got no worries on the mediums? Wilson, he's not used a lot of ERS. He has got the sign up on his game saying that he's going to be coming into the pits this lap, but we all know that means absolutely diddly squat. Use it a bit more, and I think we might just be seeing him. No, he decides to stay out on this occasion. Midnight, though, is coming into the pits, as does Mish, and I think everyone gets it slowed down in time. Young Power, another one into the pits. Wilson, Blizzard, and Used all carrying on a bit longer, as did Matthias and Casper. Suggests to me they're going to be going for the mediums, especially as all the drivers that have come in on this lap are going for the medium tyres. And we'll see how this works out for Duncan, because he was behind Mish, of course. He was the next car, basically, after Used made the overtake. Can Duncan gain 1 or 2 places here?
Yeah, well, he's just coming through the center S now through Cover del Sol. He's going to be out ahead of Mish, but he'll be behind Midnight here. So he's going to be slotting himself into what seems to be a net P4 at the moment, and of course they can jump Blizzard and Wilson. A telltale sign if the driver is pitting is when they begin to use up their ERS a bit more, and I think Wilson, he is beginning to use that overtaking pace. You wouldn't really see it because you do make it up in the pit lane, so you might as well just use it on your actual on your in lap and try and go as fast as you can. And the fact that he's using it all down this straightaway, that indicates to me that he might pull off to the left hand side, and indeed he does, pulling into the pit lane. Wilson Hughes, he's gonna get it stopped just in time, and that is fair for him there. He was right under the limit as well. He was about 53 kilometers per hour when you could have been going 80. But Blizzard, he has opted to stay out. Used as well, coming to the pit lane, as does Matthijs and Casper. We'll see how they file out in comparison to their rivals. Midnight just coming down in towards turn number 1. I think Wilson's going to be clear of it. Coming out of the pit lane here, and I think he might have made this overcut just about work ahead of his rivals. And indeed, he'll be coming out in a net P1.
Yeah, you can see there off on the onboard of Midnight, just for silhouette of the McLaren up ahead. Used slotting in between Midnight and Duncan then in the, well, we don't know what net position it'll be. We'll have to wait and see what Blizzard has done, but you'd imagine there's definitely a chance for Midnight to do the undercut on Blizzard. Whether Used is able to do so, not quite so sure. He's the only soft runner yet to come in is Blizzard. I think this lap, judging by the fact that his ERS has halved from the last time I looked at him, he'll be coming into the pits. Benjamin and those behind that are on the medium tyres, they'll be going on towards the end of this race. It is only Petrux and Duncan that have gone on a set of the hard tyres, and you imagine, especially in Duncan's point of view, that is going to put him under a bit of pressure, because we know Misha's got pace around this track. We saw that in qualifying, we saw that in the first part of that stint, and Duncan's hard tyres at the moment, he might soon drop outside the DRS range of his teammate, and that is the last thing he will need.
Yeah, I wonder if it really was worth it for Duncan to go for this undercut. Misha is closing up to the back of him, and he's really close. Oh, Duncan's actually been hit into the back of him. Who was that? I think that might have been Matthijs or something, but Duncan getting hit up the rear. And that is a heart-in-mouth moment for him. He's been tapped, and he's lost a whole bunch of time. And here comes Matthijs, now making the overtake. That could have been the championship end for him.
Yeah, I think any slim hope might have just been extinguished for Duncan. It was Young Power, the Italian, just getting his break in completely wrong. First lap on those medium tyres, I think, perhaps just learning where the grip is on the run down into turn 1, and that could well be it for Duncan. He's lost tons of places in all that. Blizzard ended up coming out in a net second position, but Duncan, he's now in a net 7th place. Luckily for him, he didn't get any damage, but he's got Casper not too far behind, also in VSR, so that might well be might not well put him under too much pressure. Young Power, 44% front wing damage. That's his race ruined as well, but thankfully for him at least, and thankfully for this championship, Duncan was able to continue without any damage.
Yeah, I would just like to apologise. I blame Matthijs for it. I saw the black sort of, well, the blackish front wing, and I kind of assumed it was a Haas car. And I do apologise for that one. It was Young Power. He's into the pit lane to get his wing replaced, and in fact he retires out the final race of the season. So that is our first retirement of the day. It was young power. Really unfortunate for him just making that simple mistake. I don't think anything would have been intentional, and I think at this level of racing, they would have that respect to not try and fumble another driver's championship fight. So I think it was just an honest mistake. Duncan, he's got to keep his head down from this point onwards, and he's got to make the most of what he's got. He can't sulk at this point in the race. He's not a million miles off of all the other drivers, and he still can put himself into a position where he can win the championship. It's going to be an uphill battle, but Duncan, he's just got to commit to it.
Yeah, he's just got to keep on going at this moment in time. There's always the possibility of a safety car. Who knows what could happen with some of these cars further up the field, especially those on the older mediums starting to get involved in their own battles. Top 5 cars separated by 1.9 seconds then. We are halfway through this Brazilian Grand Prix. Benjamin, Suso, Ash Best, Valters, Gamer, Simo, all yet to come into the pits. Wilson Hughes, your net leader then on 1 lap older tyres than Blizzard at this moment in time. And I think later on, if Blizzard does want to go for a move with the situation as it is in the championship, he might have a decent chance of claiming his second victory of the season. You've got Midnight and Used in behind, putting in good performances. Mish is now just outside the points. Matthias and then Duncan on the hard tyres, dropping outside of DRS range as well. He's low on fuel, he's low on ERS. It's just one bit of bad news after another for Duncan.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that he's in this position that he's in. The only sort of, it's hard to say, I guess, lifeline for him is that at the end of the race, those tyres will be in a much better condition than those mediums, and he can at least use that to attack something, and maybe he can hope that Mother Luck is on his side as well and something happens to Wilson. But he's really just got to keep it all. He's got to pray this one here that he can actually survive and take the championship fight to the very death of it as Simo's into the pit lane. And yeah, you would expect. Oh, he's actually just retired. I'm not sure why Simo's retired there. It might actually be because he had that wing damage and he was going to get it replaced, and he just thought, I can't be bothered to do this one there. But yeah, it's going to be 2 retirements in this Grand Prix, both of them being Italian, one of them in a Ferrari car, the other one being in a Red Bull.
Yeah, we've seen Ferraris retire with damage here quite recently in the last Brazilian Grand Prix in 2019. That's good news for Wilson Hughes because he was only a few seconds behind Simo, so that's one less car he has to deal with. He's now about 6 seconds behind his teammate, and I'd imagine by the time he's catching up to them, we'll see those top 5 drivers come into the pits. So Wilson just casually in the net lead of this race at the moment, looking for his 4th win of the season. Let's not forget, he only scored 3 points in the first 2 races. It was not looking like the best title defence from him, and since then, he's only been off the podium once, 6 in the last 7 races. It's been a good performance from Wilson. He knows all he's got to do is keep doing what he's doing for the final 16 and a bit laps of this race, and he will claim a second successive PSGL F1 title here on the PlayStation. Ash and CLG Gamer come into the pits. Blizzard not close enough to have a move on Wilson this time around, and likewise Midnight and Use just all staying in behind. Duncan still a long way off the back of Matthias, and Casper just following in at the moment. How far realistically do you think we can expect Ash and Gamer to maybe get up the field in this race? A victory and a podium probably going to be quite difficult, but they could definitely score some decent points as Casper does get ahead of Duncan and Matthias gets ahead of Mish.
Yeah, there's a bit of contact between Matthias and Mish there, so not the cleanest of moves, but he did in the end get it done. But for the case of Ash Best and Gamer, it's going to be difficult for them, especially since those tyres, they will not last forever, and they're not that fresh in comparison to the mediums for some of these drivers. Well, Duncan, those tyres are a different story. 6 laps on those hards, and then of course they're on the outlap for the softs, so you'd expect them to be closing at a rate of knots to the back of Duncan. But to the medium tyres, I'm not too sure if they'll be able to overtake them at the end. I'd certainly think that guys like Benjamin and Suso, they'll be probably the closest contenders on the set of the soft compound tyres, and all of those guys have just come into the pit lane. That turns Wilson's net lead into the fully fledged race lead. He's in position 1 beginning lap 22. He can see the championship just over the horizon. Duncan is now in a net, well, he's not in a net P8, he is in P8, and he's going to have a whole gaggle of soft runners right behind him, chomping at the bit to overtake.
Yeah, in P8 at this moment in time. I think this is going to make things pretty tight in the Constructors' Championship as well between Alfa Romeo and McLaren. I'm just going to try and quickly do the maths between the two sides, but if I've done the quick bit in my head correctly, I think as things stand at the moment, there's 1 point. I think there's 1 point in favour of Alfa Romeo at the moment. That is how close things are in the Constructors' Championship. Ash now in 9th place. That undercut worked for him. It shows you how ruined the old medium tyres were. He's been able to jump Benjamin at this point in the race. So Ash in 9th, looking to pick up some more points after scoring for only, I believe, the second time this season at the last round in Azerbaijan. Benjamin in 10th, Gamer in 11th. He knows that if he gains one position here, he could well help McLaren take the Constructors' Championship if he can get onto the back of Benjamin and Ash Best. Benjamin this time around looking fairly close to the back of the Red Bull. Is he going to go for a move then to become the lead car on the soft tyres? Ash goes defensive round the outside, goes to Racing Point, and that looked incredibly easy.
Yeah, it was a really good move from Benjamin there, but Ash Best could get him on the exit down in towards Decidas and Largo. These guys, they don't want to be fighting at this point, but they are going to be going hammer and song right in towards turn number 4. Is Benjamin going to hold this around the outside? Indeed, he does. Breaking later, contact between the pair of them, and now on the run up towards Ferratura, up the hill. Here come the two cars. Ash Best on the outside. He's going to have the momentum through the corner, swinging it in through the right-hander. They're right at the crest of the hill, and now trying to break off later around the outside. It's not enough. Benjamin has indeed taken that position out of Ash Best, and he's gone off.
Benjamin's gone off there. That looked very...
That's a wheel issue.
That's a wheel issue. I was going to say, that just looked like he went straight off towards the wall. You can see no throttle input, no brake input, no steering whatsoever. He has got it back together, but an absolute nightmare for Benjamin, and that puts CRG Gamer into that 10th position. As things stand at the moment, McLaren will take the Constructors' Championship purely, I think, on the fact that they've got more points. They've got more wins, I should say, actually, than those around them. So that is very interesting indeed. Benjamin, the tyres out on track, I think, in the end there. I'm not sure whether that will cause any issues. I'm sure Duncan will be hoping that does cause a problem and causes a safety car. But an absolute nightmare for Benjamin. So unlucky. And we've seen it. We've seen it happen before. It happened to Samuel Beam in Belgium. Jordan's missing here tonight because of wheel issues. You never know when they could have come. Everything's fine, and then all of a sudden there just looked like he lost power to his wheel.
And he has just confirmed in the Twitter chat. He said, "Nice wheel disconnected." Of course, that is a sarcastic nice, and it is really unfortunate. He was going to be in a good position come the end of the Grand Prix, and it's just not worked out that way. Fanatec strikes again, and the reliability issues do continue to plague its consumers. But I'd just like to mention on one thing: Duncan has 2 warnings in this Grand Prix, and Wilson has 0. So Duncan's very close to getting a 3-second time penalty, and I think if he does pick up that 3 seconds, game over.
I'm gonna say it's pretty much game over now. I can't see, barring a safety car, barring something strange happening, I can't see a situation where he can manage to work his way through up the order. He's basically, at the moment, he's got to try and work his way up to take the victory and hope that Wilson drops behind Blizzard, and I can't see the mediums wearing that much out of those further back. Someone said both McLarens are in the points, so congratulations to Jules Lab for just jinxing Gamer there as he drops down to 11th place, and that puts Alfa Romeo back 1 point ahead in the Constructors' Championship. It does look like that battle is going to go right down towards the checkered flag. But towards the front of the field, though, they've been pretty quiet for the last few laps. It is still Wilson, Blizzard, Midnight, Used, Matthias, Mish, Casper, Duncan, your top 8 cars, and those top 6 drivers looking very close together at this moment in time, although Mish is just starting to drop back off the train. Maybe the pad tyre wear and having to pit that 1 lap earlier starting to affect him.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's just about 0.8 of a second off of the back of Matthijs, and I think this would be really difficult for him. He might fall into the clutches of Casper as well, as actually Duncan's been closing pretty strongly on the back of Casper on these last couple of laps as Waters, he's overtaking Gamer going right back up the inside of him there, and they're going to be fighting it out in towards Curva del Sol. They're going to be wheel to wheel through here. Waters not having a good season, neither has Gamer. These two fighting for the minor positions in this race. They're still going to be running wheel to wheel into the braking zone. Gamer's going to have the inside line, but Waters brave on the brakes, and he goes around the outside, and Gamer now losing position to the Renault car. So really unfortunate for him there, and he's trying to close back up to him, and it's just not enough, I'd say.
No, just not on this occasion. As you said, Gamer, he had a fantastic start to the season. He was leading the championship for a couple of races, got points in each of the first 3, And it was only really, I think, Japan and Azerbaijan we started seeing him get his way back into the points again, and it looks like he's just losing out on these soft tyres to some of those drivers around him. 10 laps to go then. Wilson Hughes in the lead of this race, looking for his 4th victory of the season, looking to clinch back-to-back champions, joining Blizzard, Lewis Welch, Connor, I think Iron. Apologies if I've missed anyone else off the double champions list, but it looks like Wilson is going to be joining that one on this occasion. Blizzard can't get close enough to do anything on this lap, and I'm surprised, maybe it is because of the battling that they were doing earlier on, I'm surprised we've not seen Ash catch up onto the back of Duncan and Casper that quickly at the moment. He's still about 4.5 seconds behind.
Yeah, I think they've just taken a bit too much out of their tyres at this point from all that infighting that they did, and they're all of them are around about the same way, about 25%. As Matthijs, the first driver to get a penalty in this race, aside from Simo. He did pick up a 3-second time penalty, but of course he's not going to be finishing this race. He's already retired and out of the race, so maybe that will incentivize Matthijs to just go for Hail Mary sends and at least try and make up some track position. I think someone who wants to make track position is Youth, because he's been closing up to the back of Midnight for a couple of laps here, but I think Midnight got superior traction out of Jun Sao as Samuel Bean making it 2 drivers to take up penalties. So they're getting a little bit difficult with the track limits at the moment on lap 28 that has just begun. Blizzard onto the back of Wilson Hughes, and he's not going to be using up any of his overtakes, so I don't think he'll want to go for it this time by, and he'll be hanging back in 2nd position.
Yeah, the fact that both of them are on in and around 80% at the moment tells you how much they're going for the overtakes and having to go for the defence at the moment. They are quite happy just sitting in this place, and I think that's because Blizzard knows that obviously going for it earlier on, that just gives your opponent more opportunity. It wears your tyres out slightly more. He has got that 1 lap fresher tyres at this moment in time as Casper picks up a time penalty, so that's 1 place Duncan might be gaining in, and maybe some of those on the soft tyres that are currently in 9th to 12th position, but it is still Wilson leading, Blizzard 2nd, Midnight in 3rd, just hanging in there, that awkward 3rd man in the DRS train. Is there really anywhere else apart from the 2 DRS zones where someone could go for a move?
Not that I can really think of. Maybe up the hill in towards Ferradura, where of course we saw Ash Best and Benjamin fighting. Maybe in towards Hamilton and Albon's corner. I actually don't know the name. I just kind of refer to it as Hamilton and Albon's corner, where of course they came into contact the last time F1 actually went to Brazil in 2019. So I guess kind of in there, but it is a very risky overtake. But I'd say your best bets are in turn 1 and turn 4, as Blizzard, he's not really doing them justice because he's not going for any overtakes. Yeah, just go for it now, son.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting to the point where he is going to have to start going for it, and he just can't get close enough through this middle sector, like you said, through the Hamilton and Albon corner, not to be confused with the other Hamilton and Albon corner at the Austrian Grand Prix circuit, of course. And Wilson knows at the moment that he's got plenty, they've both got plenty of ERS. We're talking 94% versus 98% here. They're just cruising around at this moment in time, taking it nice and easy, just quite happy, enjoying a nice little finale to the season at the moment. But it would be great if they started going for some moves fairly soon. 7 laps to go. Wilson, Blizzard, Midnight Youth, Matthijs, the closest he's been to the back of someone, and we might see a go for a move here all the way around the outside. Is Matthijs going to try and pull this off at the first part? He's going to have the inside for the second part of the Senna S. What a move from the Haas driver.
That might be move of the race for him there. I didn't think there was even a gap for him to go for, but he's made one work, and he's done that to perfection. What an overtake from Matthijs there. He still does have that 3-second time penalty to contend with at the end of the Grand Prix. So I guess that's maybe why he just doesn't care anymore. He'll go for the moves that he wants to go for. But what an overtake from Matthijs to get into 4th position on circuit. And maybe he can put pressure on Midnight as well and get onto the podium on track. We'll just have to see what he does. But yeah, really strong stuff from him there.
Does anyone know the Portuguese for full send? Because that was an absolutely incredible move there from Matthijs. About half a car's width round the outside. He kept it fairly clean. There was that contact on exit, but I don't think there was a lot he could have done to have avoided that. And yeah, we'll be delighted with that move, and we'll see if he can save up a bit of ERS and maybe challenge for the top 3 out on track. Can't see him be able to get the top 3 after any penalties. So Wilson just needs to have pulled away slightly on that lap. Lap 31 out of 36 now. Wilson 3 tenths of a second ahead of Blizzard. Obviously Blizzard closing up in the DRS zone. We'll see him put the DRS on again here. He's not using any electrical energy, so choosing to just keep it nice and calm on this occasion and just stay behind for another couple of laps. He's looking fairly comfortable in that second place at the moment, as I think Wilson just ran a tiny bit wide there. I'll check if that got him a warning. No, he's kept it nice and clean, so clearly lifted off enough to avoid getting any damage. As further down the order, Ash and Suso battling through turns 4 and 5. Ash just holding onto that 9th position as Samuel Bean comes into the pits. I wonder if this is going to be a last-ditch attempt at a fastest lap.
Yeah, I just did a little Google Translate of full send into Portuguese. I do apologise if I offend anyone, but it's enviar completo. So that's what Matthijs went on use, and I probably butchered the pronunciation. So yeah, I do apologise to anyone who is watching that might speak it and they think, no, he's got that completely wrong there. But you know what? What can you do at the end of the day? But that is what Matthijs did on use, and there is a bit of debate in the chat about how it wasn't a cleaner move, but you know that stuff does happen at this level of driving when they're all so close on circuit. You do just kind of have to deal with it sometimes, and I do think, all things considered, it was a brilliant overtake.
Yeah, I think there was a tiny bit of contact. Ideally, he'd have liked to have made it cleanly, but he was on that line. He had more than half of his car alongside. It's racing at the end. There's always going to be a tiny bit of contact when you take these risky moves. Otherwise, you just end up with everyone sitting in a train at the front of the field, and the commentators end up all of a sudden Googling how to speak full send in Portuguese. We've got 4 and a bit laps to go. It's still Wilson, Blizzard, Midnight, Matthias in 4th position at the moment. He won't end up finishing there. He would end up finishing in 6th position. Further down the order, those on the softs still unable to catch up at the moment. Casper almost dropping outside of the DRS range of Duncan. That won't make too much of a difference to him, although he will lose a place to Ash as it stands at this moment in time. In terms of the Constructors' Championship battle, that move, of course, with Hughes currently being in 4th place and Duncan being in 7th place, that's after all of the penalties are taken into effect, of course. That is going to be 11 points, and it is going to be 16 points for the McLaren team at this moment in time. So I think that means Alfa Romeo would just take it by a point as things stand.
Yeah, and it's looking unlikely that Gamer will get into the points-paying positions. He's somehow find himself with 9 seconds of time penalties, so I don't think, well, there's a slim to none chance that he will actually net any position in this Grand Prix, which will give him a championship point to at least just propel McLaren that slight bit further, as Samuel Bean does put the fastest lap on the Grand Prix. That is to be expected. They're about to come across, again, 3 laps to go in this race. I've not seen any moves for a long time in the top of the train, but I wonder if some drivers want to go for it. Matthijs certainly looking like he's closing up to the back of Midnight, and Midnight also using up some of his overtake himself, but the top 2 there remaining where they are is a bit of a slide for Blizzard out of the Senna S's, and this could allow for Midnight to potentially close up to the back of the Racing Point car. The Racing Point car defending well, though, using up that slight bit of his overtake that he'd been saving for a long time, and no moves in towards turn number 4, but at least they're fighting it out now.
Yeah, we are starting to see a few more battles. You can see how close those top 4 are, separated all by about a second at the moment. Houston Misch not too far back either. Suso's managed to work his way past Ashbeth, so that is 4.
Oh, Matthijs, that was a bit of an overcommitted move there. I do apologise for the interruption, but he went for the move into turn number 6 of Midnight, and it was a gap that was never going to open, and now he's left himself vulnerable to Used.
Yeah, he has left himself vulnerable to Used, and I think Used will be wanting a bit of revenge from that earlier move, and Matthias really low on ERS at the moment with how everything is working out. And here we go, Used just going to fly it, I think, round the outside or on the inside, no matter which way he goes. Matthias isn't going to be able to do a lot about this. ERS on, both of them getting the DRS. Used straight round the outside on the penultimate lap of the race. Matthias thinks about going for a move back, and there we go, Matthias now in 5th, Used in 4th position. Misch just dropping slightly back from these drivers. If Blizzard's going to go for it, he's got to do it next time around. Surely he's not just going to quite happily sit back and take 2nd place in this race.
Yeah, I think with how he's kept with Wilson in this Grand Prix for so long, you'd expect him to go for a move at some point, and he's left it right until the end of the Grand Prix. These guys on 88% and 92% respectively between the pair of them, and they're coming to the final lap. They're not going to be able to use all of that on the last lap, so why not just use it throughout the last couple of runs, have some good battling. But they're about to begin the final lap of the Grand Prix and the final lap of F1 2020.
Yeah, they are the final lap on this game. I wish I'd have worked out how many laps everyone's done across I think it's in total, it's like 39 divisions PSGL have won across the 3 different seasons on all 3 platforms. But this is the final lap of the race then as they head across the finish line. Just over 60 seconds between Wilson and the championship, and he has used quite a bit more ERS on that lap, as if he is making sure that he holds on to the victory in this race. Midnight and Used further back, not able to do anything either, and I don't think Blizzard's going to be close enough to go for a move here. So Wilson Hughes, surely now all he's got to do is keep it on the circuit, keep it pointing in the right direction, and he will take the victory. Even if he retires at this point in the race, Duncan would not end up taking the championship. He's on 70% on his tyres, so he hasn't got any puncture worries. And into the middle sector for the final time then. Is there one last opportunity maybe for Blizzard to get close enough? Think about a move through Pinavino. Can't have a go into Bico De Passo. He's got to rely now on Wilson Hughes making a mistake. And if there's one thing this season that Wilson Hughes has not looked like making on any occasion, it has been a mistake. Round Yong Sao, flat out to the finish. ERS on, heading past the grandstands here in Sao Paulo. It's going to be a glorious repeat for Scotland, for Sparks, for Wilson Hughes. He takes the victory. He takes the PSGL Season 28 Drivers' Championship. Blizzard in second, Midnight third, Just, Mish, Matthias. Duncan in 7th place. He fought valiantly, but the hard tyre strategy, getting hit by Young Power, everything working against him in the end. Suso, Casper and Ash Best round out the points. But there's only one man who we're all talking about today. His teammate just does some donuts. Wilson Hughes, what a drive.
He joins the like of Big C, Iran, Blizzard and Louis. He's a double world champion in PSGL F1 back-to-back seasons to top it all off. And that is the perfect performance from the Scotsman. He did it last year in Abu Dhabi, and he's now done it in Brazil, the traditional championship final, as Gamer does some donuts in celebration for his teammate. He's even going to sacrifice the position to Samuel Bean, but he does not care. That is the final race of PSGL F1 on F1 2020. It is an end of an era, but what a way to close it out. Wilson Hughes, he is your Season 28 World Champion.
I am hoping Gamer has seen the meme I made about Ash Best doing donuts when finishing in 14th place. Someone might now be a good time to point that out about Gamer, but I can see why he's just giving the fans something to cheer with a rear right puncture, which might explain why he ended up in the wall. But it's all about Wilson, obviously, as you like said, the champion for the second time in a row. It's been an absolutely fantastic performance from him across all the season. Didn't start out that well, but we already mentioned his consistency is what's won him this championship. And as he's proved with drives like today, when he's needed to, he's had the pace just to blitz the field.
Absolutely, and I'm really hoping that we can get these guys in for an interview, because I just like to know what's going through their heads. But one man's jubilation is another man's sorrow, and I think we do have to talk about Duncan as well in this season. He has been extraordinary, coming from a long way back and being really consistent as well. You just gotta feel for him at this point, and it could have all been undone with that contact between himself and Young Power. I'm sure I'll be talking with him as well, but aside from the first round of the season, of course, the disaster in Japan, he has taken points in every single Grand Prix, so you really do have to credit him there. He's second confirmed in this championship. He finishes 7th on track in the end, but he does wrap it up in P2, so really well done to him in the end, I'd say. Yeah,
commiserations obviously for Duncan. A fantastic performance across the season, just didn't quite work out for him today. Wilson Hughes, though, everything did work out. He is the Season 28 champion with his 4th win of the season. Blizzard takes another podium. Midnight makes it 2 podiums in a row. Just in 4th and Duncan in 7th confirms Alfa Romeo as the Constructors' Champions by just 1 point. Mish is 5th, Matthias was 6th, Duncan 7th. Suso, Casper and Ash Best rounding out the points. Wouters, a season I think he'd want to forget, just finishing outside in 11th. Petrux That disconnection early on really cost him. He was 12th. Sam Yabeen, 13th with the fastest lap. Gamer, 14th. Benjamin had wheel issues. Simo and Young Power both retired with front wing damage. And just in case you've missed it, there is the confirmation once more. Wilson Hughes, Season 28 champion.
It's brilliant to see his journey that he's had in PSGL. Of course, I've been personal friends with him for maybe the last year and a bit or so. He was really one of the people that actually brought me properly into the league racing community, and I do have to thank him for that. But he is now a 2-time PSGL world champion, and hopefully we can get them into the comms box for some interviews, of course, post-season interviews. And I'd also like to talk to Connor. Hopefully he can get in and just have some words himself about how the season has gone. But there's not really much more to say. A McLaren driver on top, and it's 2 championship wins in a row for him.
Yeah, 2 in a row. Like you said, he's put in a fantastic performance, and you'd imagine now pretty much the sky's the limit. He can get as high as he wants to with whatever his plans are going to be on the next game. And shall we find out what his plans are going to be for the future? We'll drag him. We'll drag him in. In fact, no, we'll go with Blizzard first. We'll leave Wilson, leave the champion to last. We are going to go with the man who couldn't quite end up taking the victory today. It is the man who finished in second position then, CRG. Blizzard, a fantastic performance from yourself today, Blizzard. Just couldn't quite get that victory.
Yeah, I mean, I followed Wilson because his pace was, I felt, was better than mine the entire race, and it was. He was able to hold me off at the end, even if I burned my ERS. I only managed to finish within 2 attempts. So yeah, I thought I might have the win, but it's a lot harder to overtake than I thought it would be.
Yeah, definitely. We did see how tough it was to overtake out there. There was too many moves throughout the entire race. It's definitely been a good end to the season for yourself. You got pole last time out, or couldn't end up taking advantage, getting a few penalties and a bit of damage. You've had a win this season. 4th place in the championship. A very good result for yourself, would you say?
Yeah, it's a good result, especially to end it with a podium behind Wilson. So, yeah, hopefully it shows good signs for next season. But my seasons generally end pretty good anyway, and then I always have a bad start for the next season. So,
Dan, have you got any questions for Blizzard?
Yeah, I guess first of all, I'd just like to say congratulations for your season. Of course, you took a win in France, and it's been really strong for you. And coming on to F1 2021, of course, the next game that will be released pretty soon. I'm not too sure on the release date, but a lot of these guys who you've been racing with so far this season, they're going to be moving on to PC. So say you'll be fighting for the championship next season. Who would you say is most likely to be your championship rival?
I actually don't know who's moving on to PC next season. So I know Wilson probably will be. So I don't know if Duncan is, but based on this season, if he does stay, then probably him or Juiced if he stays. But I really don't know who is staying, so it's hard to say.
Yeah, that's completely fair enough. But yeah, I don't have any other questions. So again, really well done. I'm wishing the best for you on F1 2021.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations, Blizzard, on another podium here. We're now going to talk to Midnight, if he's here. Midnight, can you hear us?
Hello, I can hear you.
Finally. That's good after what happened last week. Congratulations again. A bit like a lot of drivers in that race, you found out just how awkward DRS trains can be around this circuit.
Yeah, I mean, it's stuck in third. I mean, if you're not the guy who's behind the leader, or if you're not the guy who's behind the leader, you just can't overtake. Really, all you have to do is just monitor your ERS, make sure you don't do anything stupid, make sure the guy that's behind you doesn't do anything stupid, and yeah, you just got to really just stay where you are. Just qualifying is just what's important around DRS tracks like this.
Yeah, qualifying, as we did see in the end, proving to be crucial. You were a reserve at the start of the season, didn't get any points in your 2 reserve races. You've scored points in all your full-time races as a Mercedes driver, clinched 5th in the championship. Is that above your expectations for this season when you became a full-time driver, or did you always know you had that sort of pace within you?
I mean, just to get the drive itself, just a full-time drive itself yeah, I'm pretty happy with that after last season when I was in F2. But boy, I mean, to be P5 in the championship, score points in every race as a full-time driver, I think that's a really, punch above my weight. Really, I think there.
Yeah, fantastic achievement, and maybe one to watch next season. Dan, do you have any questions?
Yeah, well, first of all, Jack, hello.
Hello.
I love to hear that one there, but I'd like to touch on your pace towards the latter end of the season. This is your second podium in a row, and if you feel that at the beginning of the season you had this kind of pace, where you could be fighting for podiums consecutively at each race, and you could have won in Canada as well, do you think maybe you could have had a championship hunt?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was okay, maybe not. Okay, maybe P2, maybe P3, because obviously the first two races as a reserve, I didn't score points. Does that? Oh wait, no, it doesn't. No one. Yeah. The first two races as a reserve, obviously I didn't score points. I missed out Austria. Austria was my best track. I got the world record and I didn't even get to race, so that's pain. But nevertheless, back to the question, sort of waffling. Yeah, I think if I had scored, I just carried the pace throughout the whole season, the way I ended it, then I think I would have had a good chance to be top three, I would say, because I started the season off just wanting to find my feet, really trying to get back up to pace with the F1s here, and now here I am, two podiums in a row. So yeah, if I started like this, it would have been something, to say the least.
Yeah, I'd actually like to mention something. If you're here next season on F1 2021, you've got this kind of pace, I'm tipping you for the championship.
Oh, oh, thank you, Daniel. It's been very, very generous of you. I mean, knowing this game and how every other game goes, I mean, you have to give me a while to go up to pace, but I mean, I thank you for that. You've been very generous there.
Yeah, well, best of luck for your future endeavours in PSGL.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, congratulations, Midnight. No pressure for next season then. Dan just piling it on there, and I think it's time we heard from our champion, don't you, Dan?
I'd very much like to talk to this man.
Wilson Hughes, back-to-back PSGL F1 champion. How's that sound?
It sounds absolutely amazing, look, and I don't think I could ask for it any other way. That's what I expected coming into this season. You know, all the way back in season 26, it was dreadful. We finished something like sixth in the championship. Everyone, a lot of people were happy to see me finish that far down. We came back in season 27, won the title, wiped the smile off their face. They all thought Duncan was going to win tonight, and we absolutely walloped him out the park. So to everyone who's watching, and to everyone who wanted to see me do bad, shove that one up here.
It's fair to say you're quite happy with how today's gone. You've left everyone on in your shadow over the past two seasons. What are the plans for Wilson Hughes come PSGL in season 29? Probably, I'd imagine now, and move to PC.
Well, that's the plan. We'll have to see. There's a lot of big things behind the scenes that have been going on for absolutely ages that have still to be announced and everything. So a lot of big things to come. It's been a fantastic season. I've loved every moment of it. And hopefully I'm in PC next game, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Indeed. Dan, do you have any questions for our champion?
Wilson Hughes, two-time PSGL F1 champ. That sounds good to say. It really does. Really well done on your championship win this season, and well, we already know how the beginning of your season went, and I'd just like to get your thoughts on how that went, and really how the confidence was after Singapore. Only 3 points at that point in time. Did you really still think you could win the championship at that point?
You know, I don't know what I was thinking at that point. It's quite a crucial mental game, racing is. I think people underestimate quite a lot. It's very stressful in some ways. And after those first two rounds, yeah, it was difficult, but I managed to visualize winning it still. It's pretty important in the bad times to visualize winning. It's pretty hard as well. So I still had the belief. You've sometimes just got to remind yourself who you are and what you're capable of. And that's what I've done. I came back. I think the last 5 races I've got podiums in, 5 podiums in a row or something. So I was pretty confident I could bounce back. It was going to take a lot of effort, but I'm so grateful to be able to fight for it 2 seasons in a row and come out double champion.
Absolutely, and of course, 4th victory of the season, 6th podium as well. It really has been the season of Wilson Hughes. I think you've owned this game on PSGL, but in talks of your rival, I'd just kind of like to get your thoughts on the fight that he's given you this season, and really just anything you have to say about him.
Right. Well, I mean, you know what? Even though I do chat quite a lot of trash talk, you could say, over Twitter, over DMs, or maybe not DMs, but you get the gist. I have a lot of respect for Duncan. You know, he put up a good fight. He's really shown he's a strong driver, and he's not one to underestimate. He definitely surprised my season. I don't know whether that's I was driving bad this season or he was just driving really well. But to be honest, if he is listening, which I highly doubt after that race, congrats. I mean, he's drove a great race to finish second in the championship. Not many people can do that, and I think for everyone watching, they do need to appreciate that it's pretty difficult to finish high up in this tier, and it's not an easy thing to do. So hats off to Duncan. He's drove amazing, and he's got a big future ahead of him.
Yeah, it's nice to see at the end of everything that even though you said you weren't here to make friends, there's the respect between 2 championship rivals who put up a brilliant fight this season. But in the end, you've come out on top. So really well done, Wilson, to take the victory this season.
Thanks a lot, Daniel. Appreciate it.
Yeah, like you said, Wilson, it's not easy to finish high up in the championship. It's not easy to win it. It's definitely not easy to win it 2 times in a row. Congratulations on an amazing achievement.
Thanks a lot, Luke. Appreciate it, man.
And I'm sure we're going to hear someone now who I don't think did it. He didn't just do it back to back. I think he did it back to back to back to back to back to back, I think, in the end. 6 in a row, I believe it was. I'm sure he'll correct me if I got it wrong. It is Big C.
Yeah, I mean, you're completely spot on, but yeah, I just want to say congratulations to Wilson. Over the past year, I've been in his friendship group. I've seen the hours he put in, the mentality. I think the mentality is the most commendable aspect. I think, even when he was down, even when people doubted him, when he had like 1-2 points, people laughing at him, criticising him, he had the whole Dutch army against him, but still, he believed in himself. He talked the talk and walked the walk, really. So I have a lot of respect for Wilson, and yeah, he's a fantastic driver and a great guy. So very happy to see him win the title. And also to Duncan, to be honest, I think Duncan has been, arguably the driver of the season in terms of how he's improved. It's a funny story, actually, because in Singapore last season, Lickler and I were like criticising him for being a bit of a pussy when going for overtakes. But if you look now, Duncan's one of the most aggressive drivers. So I'm not taking credit, obviously, but the improvement that Duncan has, good in terms of his speed, in terms of, let's say, his prowess on the racetrack, it has to be commended. Now, Wilson is a top driver, and he will be in esports. Duncan's day will come. It's his first season at the top. So I think him, Juice, Blizzard, Midnight certainly have a big future. So exciting.
Yeah, exciting. Duncan obviously getting through to the Pro Exhibition. Wilson, won't be surprised if we see him in the Challengers and maybe going more next time around. But what in terms of PSGL, what's the plans now for F1 2021 and beyond?
Well, I mean, we're always working hard to get bigger and better. As you've seen with the PC side of things, it's taken off and moved us to another level. So I guess continuing that and just ensuring that we cater to, let's say, the sweaty esports, upcoming youngsters, but also, appeal to people like yourself, I guess, more, or even me, older, casual sort of drivers. So just striking that balance, but naturally we're always keen to, let's say, improve, let's say, maybe even get sponsors, partners on board. So I think that's sort of the aspect we want to, let's say, take forward into the next game. But yeah, obviously, I might as well take the opportunity to thank everyone for their hard work and commitment. Obviously, yourself and Daniel, especially this season, have been absolutely outstanding. Obviously, Owen and Austin were very good, but I feel like the commentary has really taken to the next level. So yeah, a big thanks to you guys' professionalism. The commitment, the reliability is second to none, and that goes the same for the rest of the PSGL team, the admins, and obviously my fellow directors, who's just going to Louis Dupont, who does a lot of the donkey work behind the scenes. So without these guys, it wouldn't be possible. Because obviously I'm quite busy with work and things like that. So a great team effort, and yeah, roll on 2021.
Yeah, roll on 2021. Dan, do you want to do a pitch to get yourself on PC comms next year?
Yeah, so I'm a hard-working guy, all of that lot. But I think at this point, I'd just like to say thank you for the opportunities that I've been given on this game cycle. Of course, I started off in F2 alongside Jess, and that was a really great experience, really daunting as well, because at that point, I hadn't really commentated on any big-time leagues. and then all of a sudden, wham, you're doing the second division of the biggest league in all of league racing. So it was really frightening to do so. But I'd just like to thank the entire PSGL team for the opportunity to be in F1 this season. But this is my final comms on PlayStation entirely. So it's a bit of an end of an era for me, but I'm really excited for what comes next.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Daniel, you're always welcome. We hope to expand, let's say, the PC side of things. So you'll be certainly, one on the top of the wish list, as it were, for commentary. But like I say, we always try and give opportunity to people. And it's about grasping those opportunities. And I think, obviously, you guys have done an outstanding job, as do a lot of our commentators. I'd love everyone to have 100 plus viewers on their streams, but there's obviously limited chances. But obviously, as we get bigger and bigger, hopefully we can continue to build on what we've built on over these past 10 odd years as a whole, let's say, brand. So yeah, thanks to everyone.
Yeah, I think I couldn't put it better myself. Thanks to Connor for joining us. Thanks to all the drivers across all the tiers, all the admins, all the stewards, and most importantly, of course, the viewers. We wouldn't be able to do this without any of you. Thank you for sticking with us throughout the entire of F1 2020. We'll be back with news about F1 2021 fairly shortly indeed. I'm sure when we know more about the game and when things are going to be announced with that. So make sure to check an eye on the Twitter, Premier Sim GL, and on the Discord as well. But for myself and Dan, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on F1 2021. Goodbye.
Well, that was fun, wasn't it?